Hello, Claudia here, and welcome to the first edition of our series called Ask Claudia. Today we're going to answer the question, can I use my knitting yarn for weaving tapestry? I love this question. It has so many answers to it, but the simple answer is, yes, you can. And the next answer is, you might not want to. The real answer is, if it's beautiful, if it sings, if it makes you happy, use it. But if it's not something that you're going to look at on a wall, because that's what tapestry is about, then you don't want to use it. I am now going to go into all the types of yarns there are to complicate the matter even more, but to give you the kind of information you need if you're a newbie when it comes to yarn, to choose the correct tapestry yarns. You might have a knitting stash. You might have a fabulous knitting stash. Yes, break into it. See if you can use it. For example, probably heard of brown sheep yarn. It has this one version called Lamb's Pride, which is 15% mohair and 85% wool. And as you can see, it comes in gorgeous, amazing colors. So if you happen to have a bunch of brown sheep yarn lying around, yeah, use it. And even if you don't, I mean, when I started weaving, that was pretty much the only option in America if you want a large range of colors. So before I learned how to dye and spin my own yarn, I was using a lot of brown sheep. Also, when you went into knitting stores, I'm talking many years ago, decades, that's all you could find. I mean, you couldn't find tapestry yarn. Let me get into that. You can now, so we'll get into that. We do have tapestry yarn that's being made in the United States. Thank you. Okay, other things that, okay, let me talk about yarn for a second. What makes a yarn a knitting yarn? What makes a yarn a tapestry yarn? Or supposedly. Knitting yarns tend to be short, staple fibers. I'm sure you've heard of merino. That's like the shortest staple fiber, which means the length is really short, and it's really, really fine. The microns or whatever, like nothing, which makes it lofty and warm and soft, and that's what you want in a garment. Except if you're, wanting to use something, a long staple fiber for absolute warmth, like a sweater that you'd wear on a boat, that one. You want your yarn to be more waterproof, less fuzzy, stronger. But that's a whole other thing, and we're not talking about when knitting those right now. What we are talking about is what a tapestry yarn would look like. A pure, dedicated tapestry yarn would have very long fibers. They'd be very shiny, and it would make a very strong, beautiful yarn, which takes dye very well. The fibers would come from sheep like Wensleydale or Cotswold. When you think of those sheep, what you're thinking of are those sheep with the long curls that go all the way down to the ground. They just keep growing and growing and growing until someone cuts it off. I don't know what they did before there were shears. I guess a lot of it got caught on bushes, and that's a whole other story. Okay, so when I learned how to spin tapestry yarn, I used Cotswold, Wensleydale, mohair, the long, shiny, strong fibers that absorb dye beautifully. So there's that. If given the choice of what kind of fiber to use for a tapestry yarn, you would choose the longer, shinier ones. But that being said, if you have some knitting yarn around and it's the color you want and it looks good, you can use that too. The rules, there aren't these rules, oh my God, you use knitting yarn, how dare you? You're gonna get fired as a tapestry weaver. So what we're looking at is beauty. How beautiful is it? So let me go to another thing. Okay, so other yarns that you can use for tapestry yarn. Do you do needlepoint? Do you have this stash of Persian yarn from your needlepoint stash? Well, golly gee, this stuff is fabulous for weaving tapestry. It just is. You can get it in skeins or on little carts, so you can buy smaller amounts of it. It's 3-ply, and the 3-plies are easily unplied. I'll give you an example of it. So here's an example of it on a ball, and you just pull apart the plies. So you can blend the yarns and do all sorts of wild things. They also come in about 450 colors, so that's nice. So that's a possibility. Let me show you some knitting yarn. All right. This is some knitting yarn that I have knit with. All the colors are hand painted. I hand painted a couple. I didn't do that one. That's beautiful. And that is a merino. This is a silk and merino. And this is, I think this is yak. I'm not sure. I did weave a baby blanket out of it. Would I use these weaving? I probably wouldn't use this one because it's just plain soft and beautiful, but not sort of the color I want. These could be pretty. I have not used them for tapestry, but I'm showing you a little bit of my knitting stash. Okay. Okay, another example. Now this, so we've got, now I'm going to give you an example of some Swedish yarns. I think it's Mattvarn, I'm not sure, Mattvarn. This stuff is just gorgeous. I bought this, I don't know, 25 years ago at a Convergence, and I've used it, but I also have been really good at hoarding it because it just is. It's rich and it's a little rough, and the colors they just sing, just fabulous. And these are kind of rug yarns. They're rather thick, and I've used them to make placemats and rugs, and as I said, I've been hoarding them. I still have enough left to make a rug on the 48-inch Lily loom. So that's what I'm saving it for. Now you know. And then there's this stuff. I can't pronounce it. It's from Norway. Again, I've been hoarding this for about 25 years. That will also go into the rug. It's a 2-ply. It's a long, stable fiber. It's just fabulous. And it will work well in a rug because it will stand up to use to wear. So those are examples. And let me pull out some more examples. Pearl cotton. Pearl cotton is fabulous stuff. Those of you who do embroidery have used pearl cotton, I am positive. It's very strong, it's very shiny, and it takes dye beautifully. What is the difference between pearl cotton and the regular cotton that is in a shirt or your jeans? That cotton is not mercerized. Mercerized is some kind of chemical operation they do. I've never done it, so I'm not really clear on exactly what happens, but it makes the fibers shinier and stronger. And so when you're sewing in and out of a piece of material, you want something really shiny and strong that's not going to just, break apart. So you want a mercerized cotton. What makes it beautiful for embroidery also makes it beautiful for tapestry. Look at those colors. They are so rich and gorgeous. We do sell this, by the way, at Merrick's. Okay, next. I mean, you knew we had to get into the silk, right? Of course, how could I talk about yarn and not talk about the hand-painted silk? I obviously love this. It's great to put accents into your weaving, to use on its own, to use for jewelry. We have 2 kinds that we like. They're both mulberry silk, but this one is more like a yarn, whereas this one is a kind of a tape, a ribbon. They're both gorgeous, and they take color like nothing else. Look at that green. Look at that blue and that red. I mean, it's just fabulous. So there's that. That's great for tapestry. And last but not least, we have America's new devoted tapestry yarn produced by Gist. It's called Array. And it comes in a lot of colors and a lot of shades. They designed this for tapestry weavers, so each color gets 4 shades, which is perfect for tapestry. And yeah, we will be selling these on little bobbins, all these colors, very, very soon, so you can get samples, and then if you want to buy a bigger cone, you can do it and know that you're getting the right color. So those are some of the options that we at Mirix use to weave. We use all of them at different times. Do not reject your stash. If you have a beautiful yarn stash, dig in and see what is fun to weave with. Example, like you may have some chenille, white chenille hanging around. Well, who would ever weave a tapestry with white chenille? Well, let's say you're weaving the ocean and you need some foam. There's nothing like chenille. And I haven't even gotten into linen. Linen is also a material you can use, which you probably don't have in your knitting stash necessarily. You would have in your weaving material stash. And that's another subject that we are going to broach in an upcoming session. What is the difference between weaving cloth and weaving tapestry? Stay tuned for next time. Have a great rest of your day.